Hello, Cleveland, and welcome to an emergency edition of the Dogland Podcast. I am your host, Jackson McCurry, rolling along with Jack Duffin. It is the first day of NFL free agency. It's the legal tampering period, and I use air quotes when I say that because we all know that is a ridiculous name to put on for NFL free agency because they've been talking for weeks and weeks, so this isn't a shock to anybody, but Jack, we have our first major splash of free agency for the Cleveland Browns. They have signed, well, they have agreed to terms. I don't want to say signed because they haven't signed because nobody can sign. They've agreed to terms with John Johnson, formerly of the Los Angeles Rams, on a 3-year deal worth $33.75 million. We don't know the full details yet, and we won't know for a few days or even a week. Sometimes these take a while, but Jack, they went out and made the best safety on the market now. So another great move by Andrew Berry and company.
Yeah, no, so it was obviously gutting. I know you feel the same way when Marcus Williams got tagged because that was the guy that we wanted. But to be fair, it's not like it's a big drop off where you're like went from, hey, you wanted Tom Brady and then the next one's available is Mitch Trubisky. It's not a disaster like that. So yeah, there's not that much between them. He's been phenomenal. And the deal is really, really good. So I was thinking somewhere 13.5 to 14 million. And yeah, to get it all the way down to just over 11, 11.25 a year is fantastic work. So really, really impressed with the guys because yeah, there's some other players that we'll touch on that got a lot more than expected. And it's the most important position on defense. It's more important than edge rusher. An edge rusher might appear more times on your TV making a play, but that safety is there 100% of snaps and just such an important role.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it throughout the offseason. You know, as much as we would like an edge rusher opposite Myles Garrett, you know, safety was such a big part of why the Browns defense wasn't as good as people thought it was going to be in 2020. And majorly that was in part of Grant Delpit going down. And we even talked about it when we broke down the safety room, Jack. We said, you know, as much as Grant Delpit is talented and we expect him to contribute somewhat this year, we don't know how much he's going to be able to contribute coming off an Achilles injury. It's one of those injuries that takes time to heal. You know, he's young, though. He's a great athlete. You see the videos on social media. The dude is working his butt off in the gym right now to be ready for the 2021 season. But you can't expect him to come in and play, 60-70% of the snaps right away. So safety was obviously a big need. We talked about during the season, Andrew Sendejo, Carl Joseph, how much they were thrusted into roles that they weren't expected to be in 2020. And when Delpit went down, everybody kind of got an increase of what their role was going to be. They traded for Ronnie Harrison, and that was a good deal. And even with Harrison, he was injured a lot last year. There's a couple times the injury bug bit him. You couldn't guarantee a Delpit and Harrison safety duo was going to work. So safety was always a must for the Browns this offseason. And Barry and company, I think they knew that this is our number one guy. We need to go get him. And they went and got him. And there was rumors during the day that it would take 13, 14 million. And there was many teams involved. But as you can see, the Browns got their guy. Johnson chose the Browns over everybody else, and they got him at a relatively good salary number.
Yeah, no, it was a really good signing, and it's just a smart move, and that's just a grateful thing. We're not banging our head on the table going, they've overpaid for someone, they've done this, and no, it's really exciting. And obviously, people listen to Nothing But the Dogs podcast. Brendan Leister was on there talking about the dude wears the green dot, and usually, yeah, you would have a linebacker, your middle linebacker usually wears the green dot. But the issue is with the Browns, we saw it last year, switching linebackers in and out, where if you're only playing one linebacker, then you don't have a Wagner or Kuechly where you're like, we've got the one dude, he can play 90, 100% of snaps. It's more going to be a case of, hey, maybe like 40% is the max amount of snaps any linebacker's going to play because you need to sub them in to get the right skill set in there at different times. But I think if he can call that defense, it just gives you a really, really nice group. And we saw last year one injury to a rookie and the whole thing fell apart in safety. We've got to have depth here, and Woods wants to play three safeties, and that is what it's going to be. You've got your strong safety in Harrison, you've got your free safety in John Johnson, and then you've got Delpit, who's slot slash, hey, you're seeing an increase. We saw it a lot in the Super Bowl, two high safeties. Delpit can, 1 minute you think he's lining up over the tight end, and the next thing he's darted across the field and you go cover two. And that sort of stuff is going to cause issues for a quarterback, because they don't want stuff moving around in front of their eyes. They want to be like, oh, that dude's a strong safety. He will only be there. This dude's a free safety. He's only going to be there. When you've got Delpit and you don't know whether he's covering the tight end or running the deep route, it causes problems. And all it takes is like 0.2 seconds of uncertainty, and Myles Garrett's got his hands on him, and that sort of stuff makes a massive difference.
Without a doubt. I mean, and for those that don't know what type of player we're getting with John Johnson, Pro Football Focus graded him last year the number 3 safety in the NFL with an 85.6 grade. He was 7th in tackling among those that played 20% of the snaps with an 86.2 mark. And it wasn't just one season where, he came on and was strong. It was just a strong year and a year that he was going to get paid. He, first of all, he was a 24th ranked free agent among players. And this was before players got tagged. I'm missing it real quick, but I think 3 out of the 4 years he graded an 80 or above that he's been in the league. He was a 3rd round pick back in 2017. So this isn't just a flash in the pan season. Johnson's been pretty much consistent his first few years. He's well worth the money. And he's going to be an excellent fit for the Browns. Like we've stated, Joe Woods wants to play a lot of 3 safety packages. It's probably going to be the base defense, I think, at this point. With everybody healthy, you're going to see a lot of 3 safety packages. So you're going to have Delpit, you're going to have Harrison, you're going to have Johnson. And I still wouldn't even rule out, and I don't know if you agree, Jack, that we don't spend one of our top draft choices on another safety, because like you said, depth isn't a bad thing to have. And there is some talented safeties among the top 100 prospects, and I would not be shocked if they spent one on a safety still.
Yeah, because you still need people. At the end of the day, Grant Delpit's yet to play an NFL snap. Ronnie Harrison's got injuries. John Johnson was out, I think, for the 2019 season. So it's not outside the realm of possibilities. And if you've got 3 safeties, you need depth. That you can't be like, I've got 3 safeties. I've gone into the settings on Madden. We've turned injuries off. Nothing to worry about, boss. It's like the world doesn't work like that. And as well, there's nothing stopping you playing 4 safeties. If the other guy's good, just because you have a dime defense, it's not, it has to be 3 cornerbacks and 3 safeties. No, there's nothing stopping you going, actually, we're not even going to have a slot corner out there. We can stick another strong safety in there instead, or we can stick another slot in there. They can easily work this around. So yeah, I'm not really that worried if they go and draft someone. And at the end of the day, Ronnie Harrison might not get extended, even if he plays good. That you can't keep everyone. So no, I think it's certainly there. The 2 big areas of need, though, when you're looking now, is wide receiver, and it's not wide receiver, sorry. It's cornerback and edge defender. They're the only 2 starting spots left on the Browns roster to fill.
Yeah, one last stat on Johnson that I completely forgot. Last year, he didn't give up a single touchdown in coverage. So that, I mean, and granted, that Rams secondary is very talented. Jalen Ramsey and Johnson, obviously a nice solid 1-2 punch back there, but anytime he was targeted, did not give up a touchdown last year. And he's familiar with First Energy Stadium, 2019 week 3, picked off Baker Mayfield late in the game. So he's not too what's the word I'm looking for? He's familiar to First Energy Stadium. So hopefully we see a lot of interceptions there with the Browns for sure. Jack, let's talk about all the big moves today, and the team that jumps out the most to everybody so far on day 1 of free agency, the New England Patriots. They have spent a lot of money. It just came across on Adam Schefter. The Patriots just gave Nelson Aguilar a 2-year deal worth $26 million, but they've been spending money all day, and this is something we haven't really seen out of Belichick and company up there in quite some time. I can't recall them being this big of players in free agency, but should have been expected because they had a lot of cap space to work with coming into free agency.
So I only follow 3 sports accounts on Instagram, and one of them is a very famous member of the New England Patriots front office, and that is Nike the dog. Obviously of NFL draft fame, and if you haven't seen the picture, just go straight over to the Patriots Twitter account. They are still milking it, and it's phenomenal. And to be fair, it's a great follow regardless. But I've got no idea. I'm seeing some of these deals come out, and I literally cannot get my head around it. It's just madness. I really like the Aguilar signing for them. Yeah, 26 million over 2. It's pricey, but it's not crazy. Whereas literally everything else, I'm like, why? It's just like, what are they doing?
Even the Jonnu Smith deal?
The Jonnu Smith deal, no, I actually did like that one.
Yeah, that was a very good deal.
Jonnu Smith. The rest of it, I'm just thinking, well, yeah, we know as Browns fans from the past is, hey, if you're a bad team, you have to overpay for free agents. And I think they're now just accepting the fact that the New England Patriots are a bad team. They don't have a quarterback on their roster, so
not yet, at least. I think that Cam deal kind of told them that they're still like they got Cam, but they're also like, we're still looking. Obviously, the Jimmy Garoppolo rumors were out there last week. I can't see them getting Darnold. Could you see them getting Deshaun Watson somehow?
No, what they need to do is they need to trade up from 46 and give us a future second to pick their QB of the future at number 26 in the draft. That is exactly what needs to happen. The fact that there's probably not going to be a quarterback there that they would want is neither here nor there. But Kellen Mond, will he be gone by then? Who knows?
If Chris Sims was running a draft room, Kellen Mond would be gone by then.
Yeah?
Yeah, because he loves him some Kellen Mond.
You never know. That's what I'm dreaming of.
Yeah, but talk about some of the other deals they made. They gave Matthew Judon a 4-year deal worth $56 million. That was kind of a surprise. We mentioned Jonnu Smith, the big tight end. That was the best one on the market. He got 4 years, I think $50 million. They gave Jalen Mills a 4-year deal. The Patriots spent a lot of money, and that was probably the biggest surprise today. Another move that was making some noise, the Chiefs gave 5 years and $80 million to Joe Thuney, the guard that was with the Patriots. Obviously, the Chiefs needed to address offensive line, cutting Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz last week. So that helps. Patrick Mahomes gave the smiley face emoji, so he clearly likes that deal. Jack, was there any other deals out there today that just left you head scratching? Did you think was a good move? And not to mention, yesterday the Packers paid a running back. What's your thoughts on the Aaron Jones deal? Obviously, we don't know the details yet, and I know you mentioned this on your podcast, but the Aaron Jones deal, and was there any other deals that left you head scratching?
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what that cash is for the first 2 years of the Aaron Jones, because I'm thinking it's going to follow the trend of what we've seen. So I'm expecting like 25, 26 million, 2-year deal with some option years. But that's the key thing. And lots of people get excited about the average per year, and quite frankly, it doesn't matter. You could pay someone a load of money in that 4th year and they're just never going to get near it. So it's like, what do we know is 100% there? Those cash sort of money, most deals is 2-year plus some option years. And it's just finding out what those numbers are. The big surprise for me was Romeo Okwara. And it was like, there'd been lots of talks of, hey, this is the guy. And we're going to be around that sort of, it started off around the 6 and it got up to about the 8 million range. And potentially, yeah, we're looking at much bigger. It sounds like it's going to be a 2-year sort of out. And I don't know how much is in that 3rd year. But I wanted that to be a lot cheaper. And as soon as I saw the money, I'm like, yeah, I'm out on Romeo Okwara. The whole beauty of Romeo Okwara was it was going to cost me 8 million rather than 13 million a year. Obviously, pinch of salt with how that works out. But I would say another one, the Yannick Ngakoue was one that was a lot lower than I thought it'd be. So there'd been lots of talk that's going to be up around 17.5, which even I thought it's a bit expensive, but I felt like it's going over 15. easy, and that came in at 13 million a year, 2-year deal. So no, that's not a bad signing. Obviously, you want to get away from paying edge. It's not a great position to invest a load of money in, especially in free agency. But if you're going to do it 2 years, it's not a bad move. So there's some interesting names out there. I think the Browns make one more move, and then the rest is going to be that middle of the roster guys that there's going to be some incredible deals out there.
Yeah, without a doubt. I wanted to touch on the edge position before we wrapped up because names are coming off the board today. Leonard Floyd just agreed to a deal with the Rams, and Ian Rappaport is saying $16 million a year. But Romeo went off the board today. I was disappointed about that, but like you, when the price came up, it was like, that's okay. It was more than expected, but Shaq Barrett went off the board today. We mentioned Leonard Floyd, Yannick Ngakoue. Obviously, he went off the board too, but there is some intriguing names still out there. And all eyes are clearly right now on Carl Lawson, who it sounds like him and the Bengals negotiations are not working out, and Trey Hendrickson, who's coming from the Saints. Seems like those are the two names everybody's keeping an eye on right now, but there's still plenty of options out there. Bud Dupree is a potential option. Jadeveon Clowney is definitely another option out there for the Browns just because of past history. Aldon Smith is a name we've mentioned privately. So there is guys out there still. And like you're talking about one more big move. I would think if they're going to make a big move, it would be for Lawson or Hendrickson. I don't know if you agree or disagree.
Just Lawson.
You're not a Hendrickson guy?
No, I think they're going to get similar money, and there's a solid line there for me that there is a lot better. Yeah, if we're talking about, hey, one's 15 million, Lawson's 15, Hendrickson's 9, then you start piquing my interest. I'm like, well, I'll just take Hendrickson then, because I'm saving that money. If we're talking about a 2-3 million difference, I'm paying that for Lawson. I wouldn't mind going the other route and going, hey, let's look at Melvin Ingram, let's look at Carlos Dunlap. But if you're going to spend a little extra getting that quality of someone like Lawson, even if it's like, hey, it might say 4 years on the report, but you're actually looking at 2 or 3 year deal, that's easily then off the books by the time Myles Garrett hits. So that could work out really, really nicely for the Browns. Yeah, the other one position obviously of interest is, hey, it's corner. If they want to go address that, then you've got Casey Hayward Jr. Is the only one I would say that you sign that person and you're like, yeah, we're happy here.
Yeah, with corner, I can't help but keep thinking. Lane Adkins tweeted something out, and he said something about LSU, like those LSU boys or something else or something to that effect. And the first name that came to mind was Patrick Peterson. Now, I know he's 30 and he's not the elite shutdown corner he used to be, but I can't help but think if they're looking for a veteran on a potential 1 year deal. Everybody was talking about Richard Sherman earlier this offseason. Patrick Peterson. Now, and Jack, another question. Say they don't go and get Carl Lawson and they miss out on Trey Hendrickson as well. Could you see them potentially spending some money at the cornerback position to get a William Jackson or Shaquille Griffin, because they're the top two names out on the market at that position?
I don't think they go anywhere near Patrick Peterson. I would be shocked if he's even a name that made it onto their board. Yeah, they could potentially look at William Jackson. I just don't think they want to spend too much. Another name's just gone off the board of Ronald Darby at corner. If they want to go cheaper, because it wouldn't surprise me if they just want to bring in a couple of names. So you could ask John Johnson to ring his mate and bring in Troy Hill that can play slot corner, but also can play outside. Pretty much I would say a comparable player to his outside quality. Obviously, different style of play, but is your Terrence Mitchell. He's not going to light up the world if you ask Troy Hill to play on the outside, but he can do a job. And he's the best slot in the NFL last year for PFF. So the talent's there. Akilla Witherspoon, I think, is a really smart move. Obviously, has a history of Woods. Was PFF's 6th best cornerback last year. Yeah, it's only on some snaps. It's not like he was out there playing 1,000 snaps. But I think that would be a smart move. And if you add them two guys, that for me just rounds off a amazing secondary. And yeah, you could probably throw a Cole Joseph in there if you want to just bring someone else back that's going to be a strong safety depth. But no, I think that'd be a really, really nice pairing. And then after that, there's some other positions we need to address.
For sure. And there's still a lot of intriguing names out there. I know a lot of people were freaking out the first couple hours because the Browns didn't do anything, but I think the John Johnson signing has really calmed the fan base down. And I'm sure Andrew Berry and company are still working the phones, trying to get players here. We haven't talked about linebacker, but I would really I hope they're on the phone with KJ Wright, gauging his interest and seeing what the potential price might be. Because if they're going to add a linebacker, that's like the only name I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, no, I'd 100% like to bring in KJ Wright. I just think he just gives us such a good standard there that there's some other young guys, but that's there. I think they're going to sign a coverage linebacker as well. So whether it's Michael Smith or it's Pierre Louise, I've butchered his name, God knows what it is. It's something like that from Washington. I just think they're both interesting ones that they can get something worked out. And that's probably going to be it potentially. It may be what we're talking, a couple of corners, a couple of linebackers, and that after the edge, that's 5 dudes and that's it. And yeah, you potentially add 1 wide receiver. That's fine. We don't need much more than that, and I'm happy.
Nope. And the best part of the day was I looked at my mom today and I was like, Mom, there's really good players wanting to come play for the Cleveland Browns. And she gave me the what? What'd you say? Are you serious? And I'm just like, come on, Mom. You got to get on the hype train. The Browns are a legit team. Players want to come here. We are a contender. And that feels so good to say after all we had to go through over the years. But as we wrap things up, if there's any more breaking stories, any breaking news over the week, we will sit down and do an emergency pod. But also stay tuned to the podcast later on this week, sitting down with Alex Hale, who dropped his second mock draft over at thedogland.com last week. We'll talk with him as well, get his thoughts on the free agent signings, and then we'll talk draft as well. So Jack, as we get on out of here, go ahead and plug your Twitter and everything you got going on.
Yeah, so the Twitter is at Jack Duffin, DUFFIN. So as soon as we get any contract stuff, I'll be breaking those down. I've had a stab at what the John Johnson deal looks like, because, yeah, it can sometimes take a week. If we go back to last year, the Austin Hooper deal, we didn't even know there was a void year in it until I think it was about 7 to 10 days afterwards. So, yeah, it just takes a little bit of time for that information to come out. So, no, exciting times. There's lots going on. It's my favourite time of the year in terms of the NFL. So, no, thanks for having me on. And go Browns.
Thank you. And as always, follow me on Twitter at JackMcCurry08. Follow the site, thedogland.com, or at thedogland on Twitter. And until we get out of here, until next time, go Browns.